let's talk simple language, Mr. Mtsangwa. I think
Yes.
the language that everyone can understand.
Yes.
People watching you
Yes.
are probably interested to know, why is it that so many of Zimbabweans are in South Africa? If you do a simple Google search, it'll tell you that the estimates are that between 3 to 5 million Zimbabweans are in South Africa. As to why they're here, well, I suppose the stories vary. To your understanding as a governing party, why are many Zimbabweans in South Africa?
Look, it is the search of better pastures. That's natural. South Africa had an advantage of having comparative access to capital as a white apartheid state. In colonial times, capital into Africa followed white. And South Africa had the biggest white population on the African continent. So all the Western countries, they gave South Africa a certain edge in access to capital. We in Zimbabwe, in Rhodesia, were second, because in terms of our white population, we're the second largest white population. We also had a comparatively better access to capital than any other African countries. And we had migration of labor from Mozambique, from Malawi, from Zambia into Zimbabwe. This is natural that people follow where there's better advantage in terms of development, and capital gives an edge in development. And these two minority regimes of Southern Africa had a sizable white population, so they had better access. But now things have changed. We're now having capital in a flat global world where China can supply capital, India can supply capital, Riyadh can supply capital. So we are now having an Africa which is going to the global markets getting capital. So that discrepancy in the access of capital, which was a precursor of the colonial, which was a case of the colonial era, is beginning to disappear. You can't believe it. There is now a seamless environment between life in Zimbabwe and life abroad. That's why our diaspora is coming back to Zimbabwe, putting a lot of money. We have never consumed so much cement and steel as we have done in the last 5 years of the current Mnangagwa administration. Why? Because our diaspora feels at home. They are now beginning to invest back at home. And for your own information, the biggest diaspora migration is white. Those who came, who were called Wenways in South Africa, who came running away from C.N. Smith's war, those who ran away from majority rule in the 1980s, they are all coming back. We are living in a neighborhood which is very upscale.
Yeah.
They destroy the old colonial house, they build 6 to 7 others, and they rent 6, they rent 5. So the return of the white diaspora back to Zimbabwe is actually an indication that things are getting better in Zimbabwe. And remember, we operate in the hardest currency on earth, the US dollar. And if you can make your economy succeed on the back of US dollar, it means you are doing very well as a country.
All right. I can't, though. I cannot agree with you when you say...
We agree to differ, but I'll try to give you facts.
Let me cut to the chase.
Yes.
It was only in April
Yes.
that a big stairway was announced in Zimbabwe by those that are against what they say is a corrupt Mnangagwa administration. You speak about mines that are producing gold.
Yes.
We have seen the documentary about gold that is leaving Zimbabwe, according to that documentary, through corrupt means. The population of Zimbabwe in South Africa, they'll tell you that they are fleeing poverty and political suppression. Now, are you telling me that these things are a figment of the things that have been reported about?
Look, we went through a bad patch, especially after 2002 when we fell out with the West and our economy's wheels literally fell off the bus. This is what happened in 2002. This was the heavy hit from the West, because these are our traditional economic partners. They suddenly put Zimbabwe on they unleashed hell on the Zimbabwean economy. I know, because I'm the Zimbabwean ambassador to China at that time. We had to be dispatched to look for an alternative source of capital in 2002 because our traditional economic cooperating partners had abandoned us. They had actually given us an ultimatum to reverse the land reform or face economic hell. So when your economy suffers the sledgehammer effect of London, New York, Frankfurt, Paris, Milan, Madrid, Toronto, Sydney, coming against you, you really have to, you'll be hard put to survive. The real story is how we as Zimbabweans have managed to survive, but the most important, the exciting thing is that we have bootstrapped our economy now to an extent where we really don't feel the effects of sanctions anymore. I just told you, in this country, in South Africa, how many forms do you feel to get a US dollar from your central bank? In Zimbabwe, we don't have that. You know, the current account of Zimbabwe is in the black. The only US dollar burden we have is historical, inherited. This is a functioning economy whose current account is in the black. Now, the IMF was just 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, at ZANU-PF headquarters. I met them at the ZANU-PF headquarters. They normally would never have invested at the ZANU-PF headquarters, but they are beginning to accept that we have done things well in Zimbabwe. I'm telling you now, we have the best steel plant on the African continent, better than what you have in South Africa, better than any other African, better than even in Europe. Oh, we are now producing steel. Steel is to human beings, is to countries what food is to human beings. Your trucks now, South African trucks, they are full, lined up in Zimbabwe buying steel to bring back to South Africa better steel, cheaper steel, and make your products more competitive on the world market. Yeah. These are the stories we want to talk about ourselves, not these negative stories about people who still have a hangover of the past when we were under sanctions. We are over that bad patch.
Mr. Mutangwa, the last time we spoke, and you made it clear to me that Zimbabwe is not a 10th province of South Africa, and I hope that is going to hold true. Hopefully, you'll visit us next time to tell us yet more good news, particularly about the Zimbabwean economy. But for the time being, I want to thank you very much for your time.